Nithyananda, everybody. So in this video, I'm gonna explain how I came to be connected with Swamiji. So maybe I'll make a more detailed video in the future, but I'm gonna explain just the main points. So when I turned 18 and I started going to school, I wasn't really sure what I was gonna do with my life. I wasn't sure what the point of any of this was. I didn't really have a passion for a career or anything, and I kind of had a weird identity crisis. I didn't know what I was doing, and it put me in this deep state of depression, not sure what the point of any of this was. And I actually got real sick at that point in my life. I'd always had stomach problems as a kid, but through all this, my diet and how I was feeling mentally, pushed it to a peak, and I got really sick for a few months, and it kind of plateaued out, and I was figured out I got into this state of just what is consciousness? I just need to step back and just figure out consciousness itself. So at that point, I started exploring different meditation techniques, kind of new agey philosophies and ideas, and I started taking psychedelics heavily. I was taking psychedelics at first just out of curiosity, and then I kind of started doing it from a scientific, observational level, just trying to understand the experience. And then it kind of turned into spiritual experience, understanding the key concepts of oneness and the interconnected energy and everything. And I started using it to actually do the completion process, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was working through all my patterns from everything I've ever experienced in my life and all the synchronocities of why I've experienced everything I have. And I started having these really profound experiences, but this one experience really led me to make a transformation in my life. And that was, I had this experience where I realized I needed to talk to my dad. And when I realized this, it was kind of profound because I hadn't really spoke to my dad for 5 years, and I really didn't feel the need to, basically where we both were at in our life and what happened in the past. But I had this deep sense of knowing I needed to do something, and I was going to call him, but I wasn't sure what to say, and I let it rest. And about a week later, I got a call that he had actually had a stroke. And when I got that call, it just really hit me that that's why I had that experience. It was a very intuitive, wow, completely knowing that I had known that on a deeper level, that he experienced that. And I started going to see him and trying to complete with him, and it was kind of this interesting state because he has trouble communicating now due to the stroke. He kind of confuses words, and it's hard to have a conversation with him. But the presence and just being there have brought a lot of completion. And at the same time, I was learning about Ram Dass. And Ram Dass, he is Richard Alpert. He was born, he was a Harvard psychologist in the 60s, and when LSD became popular, he started taking it heavily, more understanding it on a psychologist level, and it brought him to start spiritually seeking, and he actually brought it to India to take it to an enlightened master, for an enlightened master to explain what this experience is. And this actually led him to find his guru, which is Neem Karoli Baba. And Neem Karoli Baba could tell him everything about himself, pretty much, his past, how he got here, just everything, really. And it just completely transformed his being. He became a very like enlightened being, and he actually was deep in his spiritual journey, deep in his sadhana, and when he actually got a call from the West when he was in India that his dad had a stroke, and that is what brought him back to the West, and what brought him to spread his message in the West. And that really hit me deep, because through learning about Ram Dass's experience, while I'm going through my experience with psychedelics and what's going on with my dad, really hit me deep and really taught me about the guru-disciple relationship, and it really taught me like how to love myself and to go beyond seeking through psychedelics, and to like really transform my consciousness through just the way I view life, and how I can live my life in a spiritual way to stay in that higher state. And then I really, a few months after that experience, I did a lot of completion and started working through my stuff, and I actually went vegan. And when I went vegan, my body like completely detoxed, and I was really able to raise myself to a higher state of consciousness, where I was a lot more clear, I had a lot more energy, it was a lot more blissful, and I was able to hold higher states of consciousness. And through being in that state, I was a lot more intuitive, and I started actually experiencing Shiva come into my life out of nowhere. I knew nothing about Shiva at that point in my life, but my friends were talking about Shiva. I was finding mantras come out of nowhere, and like I was just pulled towards Shiva out of nowhere, and I started learning more about Shiva while I was still in school, and over a period of like 9 months I really dove deep into Shiva. And then once I got out of school, I could fully devote my time to doing that. So this was at the end of May to like June. I started really learning a lot, and I actually had a mushroom trip where I started chanting the Mrityunjaya mantra and just like giving myself to Shiva, this complete devotion towards Shiva. And in that mushroom trip, I reached like a state of oneness with Shiva. And in that trip, I can't really even describe that experience, but I realized I was devoted to Shiva. So a couple days after that experience of realizing I was devoted to Shiva, I obtained some Rudraksha malas from actually the Ram Dass Foundation, these ones I'm wearing now. And I started meditating with them like all day. I was doing mantra, and I actually have like scoliosis, so it's like hard for me to stand up. I made myself stand up as straight as possible, and I did one full round 108 times of Shiva. And after I did that, I go get on YouTube real quick, and I find a video about Haritaki, and this lady explaining all the benefits of Haritaki and how our guru is giving this to people so they can detox, decalcify their pineal gland, need less sleep, all the benefits of Haritaki. And I saw like 1 or 2 videos of Swamiji talking about Haritaki. I didn't really cognize who he was at that time. I was just like, oh, cool. And so that was in June. And then June and July, I spent my time reading the Shiva Sutras and then Vijnana Bhairava, and not even really realizing how powerful those books are, what they're like really actually talking about. I was just like, these are sacred books and they'll help bring me to enlightenment. And I started collecting Shiva Linga stones and high frequency crystals, and I was meditating every day. I was just doing whatever I can to put myself in a higher state, like building like a little altar, and keeping all my sacred stuff there, all my high frequency crystals and everything, and starting to build like a practice. And one night I found Nithyananda's video on high frequency crystals and enlightenment, and she started talking about the Atmalinga and how that is Sadashiva Adi Shakti and Swamiji infused into a crystal that also is your soul, it's your Atma in a crystal, and it can heal itself, it can heal others, and it holds a very strong space. It's the most powerful crystal you can have. And when I saw this, that really engaged me because I was so into crystals at the moment. I was like, wow, there's the most ultimate crystal. And then I started watching more of her videos about Swamiji and the Adinavasi lifestyle, living at the Adinam. And like pretty much exactly a year before that, I was like, I want to move to an ashram. That's what I want to do in my life. And so when I saw the Adinavasi lifestyle, I was like, this is what I needed to do. And I made this declaration to myself that I'm going to give up no matter how attached I am to anything. I'm going to give up everything I identify with as a person to make it to the Adinam. I'm going to give up anything I attach to. So when I made that decision, my energy just went up so high. I just felt this intense euphoria flowing through me. I had a Kundalini awakening, but I didn't realize that at the moment. And it kept me up all night. And I was just realizing, wow, Swamiji is my guru. And I watched more videos, and I came to the realization that Swamiji was an incarnation of Sadashiva, and that's why I had to go from psychedelics to learning about the guru-disciple relationship to learning about who Shiva was, to find him in incarnation form, to find my guru. So I learned about the guru-disciple relationship, to learn who Shiva was, to find him in human form, and that he's my guru. So that's what led up to me finding Swamiji. After that point, I sold everything I had, and just over a 2-month period of time, from beginning of August to October, I made it to the Adinam, and that's an entire journey within itself. I'll make another video explaining that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or message me directly on Facebook. If you want a healing, if you want to talk about anything, message me. And yeah, I'll leave it with that. Nithyananda, everybody. Thank you.